Hey, it was a while since I uploaded the last time. Hopefully that's gonna change because there is currently so much happening in software engineering and I'm on top of it. So obviously we are going to speak a lot about AI, how to use it and so on, but also generally about software changes and whatever comes to my mind, no idea. Today we are going to look into model context protocol, which is something that is being mentioned a lot recently, especially on Twitter/X, whatever. And yeah, let's see what it is. Let's see what we can do with it. And let's actually have a look into an example, how I have used it. First of all, here is the documentation, a website for this whole thing. We are not going to read that right now because I prefer to just jump into example, but you can see that we have a couple of options for different SDKs. I selected TypeScript as TypeScript SDK because why not? All of these languages are equally good in my opinion. So whether you like Java, Kotlin, Python, TypeScript, yeah, just use whatever you want. Okay, but first of all, what is model context protocol and what we potentially need it for? Think of a situation that we're using Cursor or any other studio for AI, and we are asking the AI for something specific. Let's say we are asking it how much is 2,345,021 times, I don't know, some other huge number. It's likely that we will get a correct answer, but it's always going to be just generated based on statistical probability of the incoming tokens. And yeah, if it didn't get tough enough on this kind of data, it's going to hallucinate and give us an incorrect answer. Now, if we want to be precise, we can create a tool which will actually do the multiplication for us. Yeah, so we will still ask our model, okay, what is these two numbers when we, I don't know, add them together, multiply, whatever. And instead of trying to figure it out within its neural networks, transformers, or whatever is there inside, it will instead use the tool, do the calculation, return the result, like process the results and return it in a nice readable form to the user. So as you can see, it's extremely powerful. It's extremely powerful, especially for us developers. Probably it will also get used in other contexts, but for us, it might be really helpful. Why? Currently, the models, especially when we use, for example, Cursor and so on, then they generate code, but they're pretty dumb at what they can do. So they can create new files, they can move stuff. They will ask us, okay, can we run the command? But they cannot do all these things on their own usually, or there is a very limited scope of what they can do. Instead, we can write these MCPs for ourselves, or we can just use ones provided already online. There is a website, what was it called? Smifery. Yeah, for example, Smifery AI, which has like a ton of them. No idea who did this website, but man, thank you very much. And you can see we have tools like, for example, for GitHub. So we can give it our API access to GitHub, and then we can tell to our model, for example, in Cursor, okay, create a new repository on our GitHub account, and we'll go and do it with this API. So that's just examples. Have a look here. There's plenty of them already, a couple hundred available. So probably for most of the cases, there is already an implementation and you don't need to write your own. But if you want to write your own, then I really recommend you do it. And we will go through a small implementation that I did myself right now because I think that's the best way to learn something. And who knows, maybe it will be useful in the future, this knowledge. Okay. So let's go to code, and here is my implementation, TypeScript. Let's skip all the imports, that's boring. And we have two things that we have to think about or look at. All the code, by the way, is on my GitHub account, so you can find it there. It's publicly available. So first of all, what I actually wanted to do is to just be able to get reliable information like weather information or weather forecast while using a thinking model doesn't have to be thinking, but a model within a cursor which is designed to actually do programming and not providing weather forecasts, which, yeah, current weather forecast is of course completely useless for programming probably, but it is just a use case to train how to do MCP for me. So that's my reasoning here. Too stupid? Well, too bad. So I have this weather class, doesn't have to be a class, but we have a weather class. This contains an Axios instance, so this is just basically a HTTP client, and this is going to make calls for us to the API. I found this API in Google. It's just available for free without API key, so it was super easy to use. Just copy the address and it will work. And then I have a function which is taking longitude, longitude, and based on these two parameters, will return a forecast data here in the response. So we just do a simple get to the combined base URL plus whatever we have here, and we will return the data. That's all that this class is supposed to do. And below here, we have a MCP server. So this is coming from the TypeScript SDK for MCP. I forgot to mention that MCP is defined, a protocol defined by Anthropic, the company behind Claude. And it already works with Claude Desktop if anyone actually uses this thing. So we give it a name, our server, doesn't matter. I even forgot to change the name. That's exactly how it was in the example I found. Then we use a version, and then we can create a tool. So there is a couple of things we can do, but I selected tool. Tool is something that is supposed to take some time, do some computation, and be a little bit heavy. There is also a possibility to create a resource. When you create a resource, then it's supposed to be not so heavy. So maybe don't do a computational resource, just return some data. But that's it. When we have a tool, we give it a name, get weather. We have to pass the parameters. So we have latitude and longitude as strings here. And then we are just calling this weather instance in the class that we've created before, so the weather class. So we get the data, and then we return the data over here. We stringify the JSON, and whatever this API returns, we will just return back to the model. So again, whatever is here returned in the return content, yeah, this thing is going to be returned to the model, and the model is going to process that afterwards. Okay, and in the end, of course, we have to just run this server, which is very simple over here. Over here, you can see that I'm using this stdio server transport. There is also an option to just run this as a HTTP server, but we will get to that in a moment. And that's basically all code that is needed for having a tool that will provide real weather forecast data to a model. Now, let's go to Cursor. How about we go to Cursor? Here we go. So here is Cursor. And first of all, if you go to settings, I already have it open, but in settings, you have this MCP tab. Over here, we can create a new MCP server. You can see I've already added mine. So this is how it looks like. We just give it a name. It doesn't have to be the same name as in the code, doesn't matter. We select command or SSE. If we choose SSE, then we are supposed to give it a URI. So then it can connect to the URI and it will ask the data from the URI. So then we can have an actually deployed on a server as a server, or we can also run it locally with local host and support. But in this case, I'm using command, and then I'm typing in the command below here. So you can see that I'm using Node in order to run the index.js, which is, of course, after building the TypeScript with TSC. So this is the index.js. We can save it. OK, we can see everything works. We get the nice green light over here. And now I've already tested it before, so you can see it working. But let's try it again. What was my command? Can I just copy? OK. Yeah, I tried it for Amsterdam, and for Amsterdam in a moment ago, yeah, it gave me 4.9 degrees currently. But now, how about we do the same and we say, for example, London. Okay, so the model is thinking. Okay, it figured out what's longitude and longitude of London. Of course, we could have another tool over here which would figure this out, because this could also hallucinate. Likely it didn't, hopefully it didn't, we will see. And now you can see that it's calling the MPC tool, which is called getWeather over here. So this is what I created and enabled over here. Okay, that looks good. Let's do run tool. And there we go. It got the results, and now it's saying, okay, the temperature in London is 6.2 degrees, and there is more data. If we expand this, we can also see these are the parameters that it passed, so that looks correct, and at least according to what it figured out over here. And then in the result, also we get all this data, which I have absolutely no idea what they mean, but it has analyzed this data and it says that, okay, today it's 6, right now actually it's 6.2 degrees. So let's go back to the browser, and instead of Amsterdam, let's check the weather in London, 7 degrees. That looks correct. So that's MCP. That's what it is for. That's how you can write your own, how you can use it. Thank you very much, and I'm looking to see you again soon. Bye-bye.